When Elon Musk steps into the Delaware Court of Chancery, all eyes turn to watch the famous billionaire. Unlike his larger-than-life online persona, he appears almost ordinary today. Tired eyes, slightly wrinkled suit, quiet demeanor. The $56 billion Tesla compensation package he's defending represents the largest CEO pay deal in history, and Judge Maria Reyes doesn't seem impressed. The courtroom falls silent as Judge Reyes peers down through her silver-rimmed glasses. Her full reputation for being tough on executives precedes her, and within minutes, she makes her opinion clear. We're all familiar with Mr. Musk's uniqueness, she interrupts when his lawyer begins speaking. A wave of chuckles ripples through the packed courtroom. When Musk himself attempts to explain Tesla's goals, Judge Reyes cuts him off sharply. This court has heard enough of your grand plans and visions. We're here to discuss whether your compensation was fair to shareholders, not your dreams of Mars colonies. More laughter follows. A flush of pink touches Musk's cheeks, but something unexpected happens. Instead of the angry outburst many anticipate, a quiet determination settles over his features. His lawyer leans in to whisper something, but Musk subtly shakes his head. No, one in the courtroom realizes that behind his calm exterior, Elon Musk has a plan that will soon turn the judge's laughter into stunned silence. The big wooden doors of courtroom 12B swung open. Everyone turned to look as Elon Musk walked in. He wore a dark blue suit that looked a bit wrinkled, like he had worked all night. His eyes were tired but focused. The famous billionaire didn't strut or show off. He just walked quietly to his table and sat down next to his lawyers. Judge Maria Reyes looked down from her bench. She had been a judge in the Delaware Court of Chancery for 15 years. Her black robe was perfectly pressed. Her silver-rimmed glasses sat on her nose. Behind those glasses, her eyes studied Musk with doubt. The court recognizes case number 2023-0397, Tesla shareholders versus Elon Musk, announced the clerk. The courtroom was packed. Reporters scribbled in notebooks. Lawyers in expensive suits whispered to each other. Regular people who had lined up since dawn sat in the back rows. They all wanted to see the famous Tesla CEO defend his $56 billion pay package. Your Honor, began Musk's lawyer, a tall man named Victor Chen. We'd like to begin by explaining the unique challenges Mr. Musk faced when we're all familiar with Mr. Musk's uniqueness, interrupted Judge Reyes. A few people in the courtroom chuckled. Musk's face stayed calm, but his fingers tapped silently on the table. May I speak, Your Honor? Asked Musk. Judge Reyes raised an eyebrow. Mr. Musk, you have expensive lawyers. I suggest you use them. I understand, but I'd like to explain personally why Tesla's goals required— Mr. Musk, Judge Reyes cut in, her voice sharp, this court has heard enough of your grand plans and visions. We're here to discuss whether your compensation was fair to shareholders, not your dreams of Mars colonies. A few more laughs rippled through the courtroom. One of the opposing lawyers smirked. Musk's cheeks turned slightly pink. His lawyer leaned over to whisper something, but Musk shook his head slightly. Your Honor, Musk tried again, Tesla's growth from a struggling company to one of the most valuable in the world happened because you're a genius who deserves billions while regular workers get by on minimum wage, Judge Reyes said, with a cold smile. That's what we're here to decide, Mr. Musk. Not listen to stories about how hard your life is atop your mountain of money. This time, the laughter was louder. A woman in the front row actually clapped before catching herself. Musk's hands gripped his notebook tightly. The muscles in his jaw worked as he clenched his teeth. For a moment, everyone expected an outburst. Musk was famous for his temper on Twitter and in interviews. But something strange happened. Musk took a deep breath. Then another. His grip on the notebook loosened. A small, curious smile appeared on his face. "I understand, Your Honor," he said, calmly. "May I request a brief recess before we continue?" Judge Reyes looked surprised at his calm response. "Very well. This court will take a 15-minute recess." As people filed out, Musk didn't move. He opened his notebook and began writing. Quickly. His lead lawyer looked worried. "Elon, you need to let us handle this," Victor whispered. "Judge Reyes has a reputation for being hard on CEOs. She's trying to provoke you." "I know exactly what she's doing," Musk replied without looking up. "And I know exactly what I'm going to do about it." "What are you planning?" Victor asked. Musk finally looked up. There was a spark in his eyes that hadn't been there before. "I'm going to do what I always do when people underestimate me." "Which is?" "Change the rules of the game," Musk said simply. In the hallway outside, reporters gathered around a group of Tesla shareholders who had filed the lawsuit. Their lead lawyer, Sarah Patel, was smiling. "Judge Reyes clearly sees through Musk's act," she told the reporters. "This case is about protecting investors from executives who want to drain company money into their personal bank accounts." Back in the courtroom, Musk had pulled out his phone. He was scrolling through what looked like legal documents. Next to him, his lawyers, huddled, looking concerned at whatever their client was planning. "Elon, please," Victor begged quietly. "Let us handle this." Musk looked up at the judge's empty chair. His face was calm now, focused. "Trust me," he said to his worried legal team. "By the end of today, Judge Reyes won't be laughing anymore." As the 15 minutes ticked down, people filed back into the courtroom. The air felt electric with tension. No one knew what would happen next, but everyone could feel that something unexpected was coming. Judge Reyes returned to her seat, straightening her robe. She looked down at Musk with the same dismissive expression. "Court is back in session," she announced, unaware that the man she had just mocked was about to change everything. Musk stood up slowly. His shoulders were straight now, his eyes clear and focused. "Your Honor, before we continue, I'd like to tell you a story, not about Mars or robots, but about a boy from South Africa." Judge Reyes frowned. "Mr. Musk, we're not here for your life story." "I understand, Your Honor," Musk said calmly. "But to judge if my compensation is fair, you need to know what led to it. May I have 5 minutes?" Something in his voice made Judge Reyes pause. After a moment, she nodded. "5 minutes, Mr. Musk. Not 1 second more." Musk nodded gratefully. "I was born in Pretoria, South Africa, in 1971. By age 12, I taught myself computer programming and sold my first software, a game called Blastar, for about $500. At 17, I left home with almost nothing and moved to Canada, then came to America. For college." The courtroom was silent now. Even the reporters had stopped typing, watching Musk with curious eyes. "After college, I started my first company, Zip2, with my brother. We couldn't afford an apartment, so we slept on the office floor. We showered at the YMCA. I worked all day, every day. When we finally sold the company, I made enough to start XCOM, which later became PayPal." Judge Reyes was watching him carefully now, her earlier mockery replaced with reluctant interest. "When PayPal sold, I had enough money to never work again. I could have bought an island and retired. Instead, I put almost every dollar into SpaceX and Tesla. Most people said both companies would fail." Musk walked to a large screen at the side of the courtroom. He tapped it, and a picture appeared of an abandoned car factory with broken windows and empty parking lots. This was the NUMMI plant in Fremont, California in 2010. General Motors and Toyota had closed it. Over 4,700 workers lost their jobs. The building was empty for months. He tapped again, and a new picture appeared. The same building, but now bright with lights, surrounded by a full parking lot and bustling with activity. This is Tesla's Fremont factory today. Over 10,000 Americans work there now. We make hundreds of thousands of cars there every year. Those cars don't use gas. They help fight climate change. Judge Reyes glanced at her watch. 2 minutes left, Mr. Musk. Musk nodded and tapped the screen again. This time, a simple chart appeared. In 2018, when this compensation package was approved, Tesla was worth about $53 billion. To earn my full pay, we had to increase that value to $650 billion. Most experts said it was impossible. He tapped again. The chart shot upward. By 2021, we did it. Tesla became worth over $1 trillion. The shareholders who are suing me today? They're Tesla. Shares grew in value by over 1,000%. For every $1,000 they had invested, they now had more than $10,000. Musk turned back to face the judge directly. Your Honor, in 2008, both SpaceX and Tesla were about to die. I had made $180 million from PayPal. I put my last dollar into saving those companies. I had to borrow money to pay rent. The courtroom was completely silent now. Even Judge Reyes was leaning forward slightly. Why did I do that? Because I believe electric cars and space exploration matter for humanity's future. I've spent 20 years working 80-hour weeks to make that happen. Musk showed one last picture. Himself sleeping on a factory floor, using a rolled-up jacket as a pillow. This was me during what we called production hell in 2018. We were trying to make enough Model 3 cars to keep Tesla alive. I slept at the factory for weeks. I missed my children's birthdays. I nearly broke from the stress. He turned the screen off and faced Judge Reyes again. Your Honor, I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm only asking for what was promised. Pay based on goals almost everyone thought were impossible. Goals we achieved. The shareholders voted for this package because they knew Tesla needed me fully committed to succeed. Judge Reyes studied him for a long moment. The mockery had vanished from her face. Your 5 minutes are up, Mr. Musk, she said, but her tone had changed. I appreciate the context. Now, let's return to the legal arguments. Musk returned to his seat. His lawyers looked at him with surprised respect. Across the aisle, the shareholders. Lawyers were whispering urgently to each other. Victor leaned over to Musk. What was that? I've never seen you this calm in court before. Musk smiled slightly. I realized something last night. Judge Reyes doesn't care about rockets or electric cars. She cares about the law, and she thinks I don't respect it. So, what's your plan now? Victor asked. Musk opened his notebook. Inside were pages of handwritten notes, case citations, and legal arguments, all in Musk's messy handwriting. Now, Musk said quietly, I show her that I respect the law by learning it better than anyone expected. Across the courtroom, Sarah Patel was watching Musk with narrowed eyes. Her client, a Tesla shareholder named Robert Chen, leaned over to her. He's good at telling stories, Chen whispered. But this case isn't about his hard work. It's about whether $56 billion is reasonable pay for any human being. Patel nodded. Don't worry. Judge Reyes is smart. She won't be swayed by tales of sleeping on factory floors. Judge Reyes tapped her gavel lightly. Mr. Chen, please call your first witness, she said to the shareholder's lawyer. As a financial expert took the stand, Musk didn't seem worried. He was reading through his notes, occasionally highlighting something. He looked like a student preparing for the most important test of his life. Little did anyone know that's exactly what he was doing. And soon, it would be his turn to take the test, one that would shock everyone in the courtroom, especially Judge Maria Reyes. The financial expert, Dr. James Wilson, spoke for almost 2 hours. He used big words and complicated charts to explain why he thought Musk's pay package was excessive and unjustifiable. Judge Reyes nodded along, sometimes asking questions that showed she understood all the complex numbers. Musk watched carefully. He didn't fidget or check his phone like many people might during boring testimony. Instead, he took notes, his pen moving quickly across the paper. Occasionally, he would pass a note to his lawyer, who would read it with raised eyebrows. The Delaware Court of Chancery was a special place. Unlike regular courts that handle criminal cases, this court dealt only with business disputes. It was housed in a tall building in Wilmington, Delaware. The courtroom itself was fancy, with dark wood panels and the state seal hanging behind the judge's bench. Delaware might be a small state, but more than half of all big American companies were legally based there because of its business-friendly laws. Judge Maria Reyes had served on this court for 15 years. Before becoming a judge, she had been a top lawyer at one of New York's biggest law firms. She specialized in cases about how companies are run. Many CEOs feared appearing before her because she was known for asking tough questions and seeing through weak arguments. During a break in testimony, reporters huddled in the hallway. "Musk seems different today," said one journalist from the Wall Street Journal. "Usually he gets angry when challenged. Maybe he finally learned to control his temper," replied a reporter from Bloomberg. "But it won't help him. The numbers don't lie. No CEO in history has gotten a pay package this big." Back in the courtroom, Sarah Patel called her next witness. Roberta Lee, a professor who studied CEO pay at Harvard Business School. "Professor Lee," Patel began, "how does Mr. Musk's $56 billion compensation compare to other CEOs? It's approximately 1,000 times larger than the average CEO at a major company," Professor Lee answered. "The next highest pay package I've studied was about $2.3 billion. "And is there any justification for such an extreme amount?" Patel asked. "In my professional opinion, no," Lee said firmly. "No single person's contribution can possibly be worth that much, regardless of company performance." Judge Reyes nodded slightly. The shareholders in the courtroom looked pleased, but Musk still didn't seem worried. If anything, he looked more focused than before. When it was his lawyer's turn to question Professor Lee, Victor Chen stood up. "Your Honor, Mr. Musk would like to personally question this witness, if the court allows." Murmurs filled the courtroom. Judge Reyes looked surprised. "Mr. Musk is not a licensed attorney," she said. "Though parties can represent themselves, it's unusual in complex cases like this." "I understand, Your Honor," Musk replied, standing. "But since my personal decisions are being questioned, I believe I should have the opportunity to ask questions directly." Judge Reyes considered this for a moment. "Very well, Mr. Musk. You may question the witness, but follow proper court procedure." "Thank you, Your Honor," Musk said with a small nod. He walked to the podium facing the witness stand. "Professor Lee, good afternoon," he began politely. "You've studied CEO compensation for how many years?" 23 years, she answered. "In your studies, do you consider the starting value of a company when evaluating CEO pay?" Lee looked puzzled. "We consider many factors, but—" "Let me be more specific," Musk interrupted gently. "If a CEO grows a company from $50 billion to $1 trillion in value, Do you consider that different from a CEO who maintains a company's value at $1 trillion with no growth? Well, yes, growth is certainly a factor, Lee admitted. And what about personal risk? In your analysis, do you consider whether a CEO has invested their own money in the company? That's not typically part of our compensation analysis, she said. Musk nodded thoughtfully. One last question. In your studies, do you account for pay that is entirely dependent on reaching specific performance goals that many experts considered impossible to achieve? Lee shifted in her seat. Our models don't specifically— Thank you, Professor, Musk said. No further questions. He returned to his seat. The exchange had lasted less than 5 minutes, but the atmosphere in the courtroom had shifted. Judge Reyes was watching Musk with new interest. After the professor stepped down, Sarah Patel called Robert Chen, the Tesla shareholder who had started the lawsuit. Mr. Chen, why did you file this case? Patel asked. Because no human being should receive $56 billion for any job, Chen said firmly. That money belongs to shareholders like me. We took the risk of investing in Tesla, not just Mr. Musk. Musk's lawyer started to stand, but Musk put a hand on his arm, shaking his head slightly. He seemed content to let Chen speak without challenging him. As the afternoon continued, more witnesses came and went. Experts talked about how companies should be run. Former Tesla board members defended their decision to approve Musk's pay. Through it all, Musk remained unusually patient, sometimes whispering to his lawyers, but mostly writing in his notebook. By 4 o'clock, Judge Reyes checked her watch. We'll continue tomorrow morning at 9, she announced. Mr. Musk, your team will present your case then. As people began gathering their things, Musk approached the judge's bench. Your Honor, I'd like to request that I be allowed to present part of my own case tomorrow, he said quietly. Judge Reyes studied him over her glasses. You're sure about this, Mr. Musk? The legal issues are complex. Musk nodded. I've prepared thoroughly, Your Honor. Very well, she said. But I warn you, I won't go easy on you just because you're not a lawyer. Musk smiled slightly. I wouldn't expect you to, Your Honor. As Musk walked out of the courtroom, reporters shouted questions. He didn't answer any of them. His face showed the calm determination of someone who knew exactly what was coming next and couldn't wait to reveal it. The next morning, the courtroom was even more crowded. People had lined up since 5 a.m. to get seats. News about Musk wanting to represent himself had spread overnight. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Judge Reyes entered precisely at 9 a.m. Court is in session, she announced, looking refreshed and ready. Victor Chen stood up. Your Honor, the defense calls Elon Musk. Musk walked to the witness stand. After being sworn in, he sat down and faced the courtroom. Mr. Musk, Victor began, could you explain to the court why Tesla's board approved your compensation package? Before Musk could answer, he raised his hand slightly. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to represent myself for this portion of the case, as we discussed yesterday. Judge Reyes nodded. The court allows it. Proceed, Mr. Musk. A whisper ran through the audience as Musk stepped down from the witness stand and walked to the center of the courtroom. He wore a simple dark suit with a blue tie. In his hands was the notebook he'd been writing in all day yesterday. Thank you, Your Honor, Musk said. Instead of answering questions about my compensation, I'd like to talk about Tesla's mission. Judge Reyes frowned. Mr. Musk, this court is concerned with the legal aspects of your pay package, not your company's mission statement. I understand, Your Honor, Musk replied, but I believe Tesla's mission is directly relevant to why the compensation package was structured as it was. May I have 5 minutes to explain? Something in his voice, the calm confidence, perhaps, made Judge Reyes pause. 5 minutes, Mr. Musk. Tesla's mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, Musk began. Not to make fancy cars for rich people, but to create electric vehicles everyone can afford, and clean energy systems for homes and businesses. He walked to a screen and tapped it. A chart appeared showing global carbon emissions. In 2018, when this pay package was created, the world was releasing more carbon pollution than ever before. Climate change was getting worse, not better. Tesla needed to grow much faster to make a real difference. He tapped the screen again. Now, it showed Tesla's growth targets. The board and I agreed that my pay would be based on specific goals. I would get nothing, $0, unless Tesla's value grew dramatically. For each goal we reached, I would get stock options, but only if we reached the goals. Judge Reyes watched closely. The mocking tone from yesterday was gone. The first goal was reaching $100 billion in value. Many experts said Tesla would never get there. The final goal was $650 billion, more than 10 times our value when we set the goals. Almost everyone said it was impossible. Musk tapped the screen one more time. It showed Tesla's actual growth curve. We didn't just meet those goals. We blew past them. Tesla reached a value of over $1 trillion. Every shareholder who kept their shares saw their investment grow by more than 1,000%. He turned to face the courtroom directly. The pay package worked exactly as intended. It motivated me to work harder than I ever had before. Some weeks I worked 120 hours. I missed birthdays, holidays, sleep. But we built a company that's changing the world. Judge Reyes leaned forward. Mr. Musk, I understand the goals were ambitious, but the question before this court is whether $56 billion is reasonable compensation for any individual regardless of achievement. Musk nodded. That's an excellent point, Your Honor. May I approach with some documents? Judge Reyes nodded, looking curious. Musk handed her a stack of papers. These are SEC filings showing the compensation of other CEOs relative to their company's growth and value creation. He handed the same papers to Sarah Patel, who looked surprised. If you look at page 3, Musk continued, you'll see that my compensation per dollar of value created for shareholders is actually lower than most other CEOs. Apple's Tim Cook, for example, received about $99 million in 2022, when Apple's value grew by $150 billion. That's about $1 for every $1,150 in new value. Judge Reyes studied the papers, her eyebrows rising slightly. My compensation, spread across the growth Tesla achieved, works out to $1 for every $1,850 in new value created for shareholders. In other words, I was paid less per dollar of growth than many other CEOs. Sarah Patel stood up. Objection, Your Honor. These comparisons aren't relevant. No CEO has ever received a package this large, regardless of the ratios Mr. Musk is citing. Musk turned to her. That's because no CEO has ever created this much value in such a short time. Judge Reyes looked between them. I'll allow this line of argument. Please continue, Mr. Musk. Musk smiled slightly. Thank you, Your Honor. I believe I've used my 5 minutes, but I'm ready to continue if the court permits. Judge Reyes checked her watch, then looked up with new interest in her eyes. The court will hear your full argument, Mr. Musk. Please proceed. In the audience, reporters were typing furiously. No one had expected Musk to be this prepared or persuasive. And from the look on his face, he was just getting started. "Your Honor," Musk continued, "I'd like to show some evidence that hasn't been presented yet." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a folder. "These are emails and meeting notes from Tesla's board of directors from 2017 and 2018, when my compensation package was being created." Sarah Patel jumped to her feet. "Objection! We haven't seen these documents during discovery." Musk turned to her calmly. "These documents were all included in the data files provided to your team 6 months ago. They're in folder B147, specifically, items 22 through 36. We can verify this during the break if needed." Judge Reyes looked between them. "Ms. Patel, we'll take a short recess to confirm this. If the documents were provided during discovery, I'll allow them." 20 minutes later, court resumed. Sarah Patel looked frustrated as she returned to her seat. "The documents were indeed provided during discovery," Judge Reyes announced. "Mr. Musk may proceed." Musk nodded gratefully. "Thank you, Your Honor." He handed copies to both the judge and Patel's team. "These emails show something important," Musk explained. "In 2018, I actually wanted a smaller pay package than what the board proposed." Murmurs filled the courtroom. Judge Reyes looked up sharply. "On page 4, Musk continued, "you'll see an email from me to the board chairperson. I suggested that my performance targets should be even higher, and my potential compensation lower." Judge Reyes flipped to the page. Her eyes widened slightly as she read. "The board actually pushed back," Musk said. "They worried that if the goals were too hard to reach, I might give up or focus more on my other companies like SpaceX. They wanted to make sure I stayed fully committed to Tesla." He pointed to another page. "Here's a report from the Compensation Committee. They consulted 5 different expert firms about CEO pay. All 5 said Tesla needed an unusual package to keep me engaged, since I was already wealthy from PayPal and didn't need to work for money." Judge Reyes read carefully, occasionally nodding. "Your Honor, in 2017 and 2018, Tesla was in a dangerous position. We were losing money every quarter. The Model 3 production was behind schedule. Many experts predicted bankruptcy." Musk walked to a large screen and tapped it. Pictures appeared of newspaper headlines from that time. "Tesla Death Watch. Musk's Fool. House of Cards. The End of Tesla." The board knew I was working at SpaceX, too. They were worried I might focus there if Tesla seemed hopeless. So they designed this package to make me pour everything I had into saving Tesla. He tapped the screen again, showing a chart of Tesla's stock price from 2018 to 2023. It worked better than anyone imagined. Tesla didn't just survive, it became one of the most valuable companies on Earth. We went from making 100,000 cars per year to over 1.3 million. We built new factories in China, Texas, and Germany. We hired tens of thousands of workers. Sarah Patel stood up. "Your Honor, these achievements are impressive, but they don't justify paying one person $56 billion that could have gone to shareholders." Musk turned to face her. "Ms. Patel, may I ask who your client, Mr. Chen, is?" Patel looked confused. "He's a Tesla shareholder, as you know." "When did he buy his Tesla shares?" Musk asked. "I don't see how that's relevant," Patel replied. "I believe it's very relevant," Musk said. He pulled out another document. "According to Tesla's shareholder records, Mr. Chen bought his shares in January 2021, after Tesla had already achieved most of the goals in my compensation package." Judge Reyes leaned forward. "Is this correct, Ms. Patel?" Patel hesitated. "Yes, but the timing of his investment doesn't change the legal questions about the compensation." "With respect, I believe it does," Musk countered. Mr. Chen invested in Tesla when its value already reflected the growth that my compensation package helped create. He benefited from the very success he's now complaining about. Judge Reyes looked thoughtful. That's an interesting point, Mr. Musk. Please continue. Musk pulled out more documents. These show something else important. In 2018, when shareholders voted on my pay package, they approved it by a large majority, 73% in favor. That includes many large investment funds that manage retirement money for regular people, not just wealthy investors. He handed the voting records to Judge Reyes. Those shareholders knew exactly what they were approving. The package was described in detail in public documents. Everyone understood that if Tesla grew enough, I would receive this compensation. Musk paused, looking directly at Judge Reyes. Your Honor, in America, we generally allow people to keep the deals they make, as long as everyone understood the ET terms. Tesla's board and shareholders made a deal with me. We all understood what would happen if Tesla succeeded. Judge Reyes nodded slowly. That's a fair legal principle, Mr. Musk. But courts can invalidate agreements that are so one-sided. They're unconscionable. I understand, Musk replied. But is my compensation package truly one-sided when Tesla shareholders have gained over $700 billion in value? When Tesla employees with stock options have become millionaires? When we've created thousands of good-paying jobs? He walked back to the screen and tapped it again. This time, a different chart appeared. This shows my actual compensation compared to the value created for others. For every dollar I've received, Tesla shareholders have gained approximately $28 in value. Tesla employees with stock options have gained over $10 billion collectively. Sarah Patel stood again. Your Honor, these comparisons don't address the legal question of whether the board fulfilled its duties when approving this enormous package. Judge Reyes looked at her. Ms. Patel, the court must consider the context and results of the board's decision, not just the size of the number. Mr. Musk is providing relevant context. Patel sat down, looking frustrated. Musk walked closer to the judge's bench. Your Honor, there's one more document I'd like to show you. He handed her a single sheet of paper. As Judge Reyes read it, her eyebrows rose again. This is a letter from me to the board, dated 2 weeks before this trial, Musk explained. In it, I offer to voluntarily reduce my compensation if the court finds the original package excessive. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Sarah Patel looked stunned. Judge Reyes tapped her gavel for silence. Mr. Musk, this is unusual, Judge Reyes said. I believe in fairness, Your Honor, Musk replied simply. I want what's best for Tesla and its shareholders. If that means adjusting my compensation, I'm willing to do so. Judge Reyes studied him for a long moment. The court appreciates your flexibility, Mr. Musk. We'll consider this offer along with all the evidence. As Musk returned to his seat, the atmosphere in the courtroom had completely changed. The mockery from yesterday was gone, replaced with a new respect, even from those who still opposed his enormous pay package. His legal team looked at him with amazement. Even Judge Reyes seemed to be seeing Elon Musk in a new light. During the lunch break, Musk sat alone in a small conference room. He hadn't touched his sandwich. Instead, he was reviewing his notes one more time. Victor Chen knocked softly and entered. That was incredible, Victor said, sitting down across from Musk. Where did you learn to present evidence like that? Most lawyers with 20 years of experience couldn't have done better. Musk gave a tired smile. I've been studying every night for months. Tesla matters to me. I couldn't just leave this to chance. Victor shook his head in wonder. The judge is definitely listening now. But Sarah Patel is good. She'll come back hard this afternoon. I know, Musk nodded. That's why I saved the most important part for last. When court resumed, Judge Reyes called for Musk to continue his presentation. His face looked more serious now as he walked to the center of the courtroom. Your Honor, I'd like to talk about something more personal, Musk began. His voice was quieter than before. The human cost of building Tesla. He tapped the screen, and a picture appeared of a cot with a blanket in what looked like an office. This was my bed at the Tesla factory in 2018. During what we called production hell, I slept there for weeks at a time. Another tap. Another picture. Musk looking exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes, talking to workers on a factory floor. This was taken after I had been awake for 3 days straight, trying to fix bottlenecks in the Model 3 production line. We were losing about $20 million every week. Experts were predicting Tesla would run out of money in months. Judge Reyes watched closely, her expression thoughtful. Your Honor, I have 5 children. During that time I missed birthdays, school events, and countless dinners. My health suffered. My relationships suffered. Musk's voice grew softer. I'm not asking for sympathy. I chose this path. But I want the court to understand that this compensation package wasn't just about money. It was about recognizing the personal sacrifice required to achieve something most people thought was impossible. He showed another picture. The Tesla factory in Fremont in 2010, abandoned and empty, then in 2023, bustling with activity. When we bought this factory, it was a ghost building. Now, over 10,000 people work there, earning good wages with health insurance and stock options. We've created similar factories in Nevada, New York, Texas, Berlin, and Shanghai. Together, they employ over 100,000 people worldwide. Musk pointed to the screen. Every one of those jobs exists because we didn't give up during the hard times, because we kept pushing when most companies would have declared bankruptcy. Sarah Patel stood. Your Honor, while Mr. Musk's dedication is admirable, many CEOs work hard without receiving $56 billion. Musk nodded. That's absolutely true, Ms. Patel. Many CEOs work incredibly hard. The difference is the scale of impact and the risks taken. Hai turned back to Judge Reyes. Your Honor, in 2018, I had 2 choices. I could have stepped back from Tesla, focused on SpaceX, and lived a much easier life. The compensation package made me fully commit to Tesla instead. Judge Reyes leaned forward. Mr. Musk, why do you push yourself so hard? You were already wealthy from your earlier companies. Why take on such stress? The courtroom went completely silent. It was the question everyone wondered about the richest man in the world, who seemed to never stop working. Musk was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was earnest. Because someone has to, he said simply. Climate change is real. Space exploration matters for humanity's future. These things don't happen on their own. He looked around the courtroom. Money has never been my primary motivation. If it was, I would have retired after PayPal. I keep pushing because the work matters. Judge Reyes studied him. Yet you're defending your right to the largest compensation package in corporate history. I am, Musk agreed. Not because I need the money, but because a deal is a deal. The board and shareholders promised this compensation if I achieved specific goals. I achieved those goals. American business depends on honoring agreements, even when the numbers get large. He walked closer to the judge. Your Honor, the purpose of this court is to ensure fairness in business dealings. Is it fair to change the terms of a deal after one side has fully performed their obligations? After the company has gained hundreds of billions in value? After shareholders have seen enormous returns? Judge Reyes looked thoughtful. The law must sometimes weigh competing fairness claims, Mr. Musk. The shareholders claim the board failed in its duties by approving such an extraordinary package. Musk nodded. I understand, Your Honor, and I respect the court's role in making that determination. All I ask is that you consider the full context, not just the size of the number, but what was achieved, who benefited, and what I gave up along the way. As Musk returned to his seat, Victor Chen whispered, "That was powerful, but I'm not sure it's enough on the legal merits." Musk smiled slightly. "That's why I saved the legal arguments for last." Judge Reyes tapped her gavel. "We'll take a 15-minute recess, then hear Mr. Musk's final arguments." As people filed out, many were discussing what they'd just heard. The mood had shifted dramatically from yesterday's mockery. Even those who thought $56 billion was too much for any CEO were seeing Musk differently, as a person, not just a number. When court resumed, Judge Reyes looked at Musk with new interest. "Mr. Musk, please continue with your final arguments." Musk approached the podium again. This time, he seemed different. His shoulders were straighter. His voice was clearer. Even his eyes seemed sharper. "Your Honor, I'd like to turn to the legal heart of this case," Musk began. "The shareholders claim the board failed in its duties by approving my compensation package. To evaluate this claim, we must look at Delaware corporate law." Judge Reyes raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised to hear Musk speaking like a lawyer. Under Delaware law, board decisions are protected by what's called the business judgment rule. This means courts should not second-guess business decisions unless there's evidence of bad faith, conflict of interest, or gross negligence. Sarah Patel sat forward, her eyes narrowing. "I'd like to cite 3 Delaware Court of Chancery cases that are directly relevant," Musk continued. He pulled out a legal document. First, Espinoza v. Zuckerberg, 2016, which established that informed shareholder approval can cleanse potential board conflicts. Judge Reyes blinked in surprise. Second, in Walt Disney Company derivative litigation, 2005, which held that even very large executive compensation packages are protected by the business judgment rule if the board followed proper processes. Musk turned a page. And third, Reyes v. Continental Resources, 2009, which established that performance-based compensation tied to specific metrics is presumptively reasonable if approved by informed shareholders. The courtroom went completely silent. Judge Reyes stared at Musk. "Mr. Musk," she said slowly, "did you just cite a case that I wrote the opinion for?" Musk nodded respectfully. "Yes, Your Honor. Your opinion in Reyes v. Continental Resources is considered a landmark in executive compensation law. You wrote, and I quote, 'When compensation is directly tied to specific performance metrics that benefit all shareholders, and those metrics are properly disclosed before shareholder approval, courts should be reluctant to substitute their judgment for that of the board and shareholders.'" Judge Reyes looked genuinely stunned. She had written those words 13 years ago in a much less famous case. "Your Honor," Musk continued, "I believe your reasoning in that case applies directly to mine. My compensation package was tied to specific performance metrics designed to benefit all shareholders, fully disclosed before shareholder approval, approved by 73% of voting shareholders." Musk paused, looking directly at Judge Reyes. "In fact, I'd be curious to hear if you still stand by the principles you established in that case. It was a bold move. Musk was essentially asking the judge to explain her own legal reasoning. Judge Reyes studied him for a moment, then leaned forward. Mr. Musk, while I can't comment specifically on how that case might apply to yours, I will clarify my reasoning in Reyes versus Continental. In that case, the performance metrics were reasonable and challenging, but achievable. The compensation, while large, was proportional to the increased shareholder value. Musk nodded. Thank you, Your Honor. May I ask a follow-up question? In your opinion, would tripling a company's value in 3 years qualify as a reasonable and challenging metric? It would certainly be challenging, Judge Reyes acknowledged. Whether it's reasonable would depend on the specific company and market conditions. And what about increasing value by 1,000% in 3 years? Musk asked. Would that be both challenging and reasonable to expect? Judge Reyes almost smiled. Most companies would consider that virtually impossible, Mr. Musk. Yet that's exactly what Tesla achieved, Musk replied. The performance metrics in my package weren't just challenging. Most experts considered them impossible. Yet we reached them all. Musk turned to a new page in his notes. Your Honor, Delaware law has consistently held that courts should focus on the process of board decisions, not second-guess the outcomes. The shareholders don't claim that Tesla's board failed to consider expert advice, or that they didn't understand the terms, or that they had conflicts of interest. He looked up at Judge Reyes. Instead, they're asking this court to say, the number is too big, no matter what process was followed. That would establish a dangerous new principle in Delaware corporate law, that courts can invalidate properly approved compensation simply because the amount seems too large. Sarah Patel stood quickly. Your Honor, Mr. Musk is oversimplifying our argument. We contend that no reasonable board could have approved this package, regardless of process. The VE sheer size makes it unreasonable per se. Musk turned to her. Ms. Patel, does Delaware law currently recognize any specific dollar amount as too large for executive compensation? Patel hesitated. No, but has any Delaware court ever invalidated a compensation package solely because of its size when all other aspects of the approval process were proper? Patel frowned. Not exactly, but thank you, Musk said politely, turning back to Judge Reyes. Your Honor, what Ms. Patel is asking for isn't the application of existing Delaware law. She's asking you to create new law, to establish that courts can override board and shareholder decisions based solely on the size of compensation, even when every procedural requirement was followed correctly. Judge Reyes looked thoughtful. Mr. Musk makes an interesting point, Ms. Patel. Does your case rely on this court establishing a new principle in Delaware corporate law? Patel straightened. Your Honor, we believe existing principles of reasonableness and proportionality support our position. But you can't cite a specific case where a court has done what you're asking me to do, Judge Reyes pressed. The extreme size of this package makes it a case of first impression, Patel admitted. Judge Reyes nodded slowly, then turned back to Musk. Continue, Mr. Musk. Thank you, Your Honor, Musk said. My final legal point is simple. Delaware corporate law is designed to give boards and shareholders flexibility to make business decisions. This includes designing compensation packages that align executive incentives with shareholder interests. Exactly what Tesla's board did. He closed his notes. The package worked as intended. Tesla achieved extraordinary growth. Shareholders saw extraordinary returns. American workers got thousands of new jobs. And yes, I received extraordinary compensation, exactly as disclosed and approved by the board and shareholders. Musk looked directly at Judge Reyes. Your Honor, I respectfully ask that you follow the principles you yourself established in Reyes v. Continental and uphold the compensation package that Tesla's board and shareholders approved. As Musk returned to his seat, the courtroom was buzzing with whispers. No one had expected him to cite legal precedents or to specifically reference the judge's own past rulings. Judge Reyes tapped her gavel for silence, her expression unreadable. But there was no mistaking the new respect in her eyes as she watched Elon Musk sit down. The court will take a 15-minute recess, Judge Reyes announced. When we return, Ms. Patel will have an opportunity to respond to Mr. Musk's arguments. During the break, reporters rushed to file stories. The headline on Bloomberg's website already read, Musk surprises court with legal knowledge in pay package. Case. Twitter was exploding with comments about Musk citing the judge's own legal opinions. When court resumed, Sarah Patel stood at the podium, looking determined. Your Honor, she began, Mr. Musk has presented an impressive personal story and cited some relevant cases, but he's missing the central point of our case. She walked closer to the judge. The business judgment rule doesn't protect decisions that are so extreme they couldn't possibly be in shareholders' best interests. No reasonable board could conclude that one person deserves $56 billion of company resources. Judge Reyes nodded. Ms. Patel, at what point does compensation become too large under your theory? Is there a specific number or percentage that triggers court intervention? Patel hesitated. There's no specific number, Your Honor, but this package is so far beyond normal CEO pay that it crosses into unreasonableness. Judge Reyes turned unexpectedly toward Musk. Mr. Musk, would you like to respond to that point? Musk stood. Thank you, Your Honor. The question isn't whether the number is large. It's whether the process was proper and the results benefited shareholders. Judge Reyes looked thoughtful. Let me ask you both a hypothetical question. If a CEO's actions created $1 trillion in new value for a company, what would be a reasonable percentage of that value for the CEO to receive as compensation? Patel spoke first. Even a fraction of a percent would be billions of dollars, Your Honor. There must be some upper limit based on social norms and basic fairness, Musk responded calmly. Your Honor, in most industries, creating something that generates $1 trillion in value would earn the creator far more than 5.6% of that value, which is what my package represents. Venture capitalists typically take 20–30% of the businesses they help create. Authors receive 10–15% of book sales. Musicians often earn 15–20% of music revenues. Judge Reyes considered this. But CEOs are employees of the company, not owners or creators. With respect, Your Honor, Musk countered, the traditional line between employee and creator blurs in cases like Tesla. I'm the largest individual shareholder. I've invested my personal fortune in the company multiple times, and I've been centrally involved in designing every major product. The judge nodded slowly, then fired another question. What about the argument that this money could have been used to further Tesla's mission? Couldn't $56 billion build more factories or fund more research? Musk didn't hesitate. That assumes the growth would have happened without the incentive. Structure. The evidence suggests otherwise. Before this package was approved, Tesla was struggling to meet production targets. After it was approved, we surpassed every goal. The package didn't take money from Tesla. It created conditions that generated hundreds of billions in new value. Judge Reyes pressed further. But couldn't a smaller package have created the same incentive? Perhaps, Musk admitted. But that's a business judgment, not a legal question. The board considered various options and made its decision. Delaware law protects that decision unless there was bad faith or gross negligence, which no one has proven. The judge turned back to Patel. Ms. Patel, has the board's process been shown to be defective? Patel looked frustrated. Your Honor, we believe the outcome itself proves the process was defective. No properly functioning board would approve this amount. But that's circular reasoning, Judge Reyes pointed out. You're saying the process must be bad because you don't like the result. That's exactly what the business judgment rule is designed to prevent. The courtroom was silent. Everyone could feel the case shifting. Judge Reyes was challenging the core of the shareholders' argument, while engaging seriously with Musk's points. Your Honor, Musk said quietly, may I make one final point? Judge Reyes nodded. Delaware corporate law exists to provide predictable rules for businesses. If this court invalidates a compensation package that was properly approved and achieved exactly what it was designed to do, it would create uncertainty for every company incorporated in Delaware. Boards would never know if their decisions might be overturned simply because a judge found the numbers too large. Judge Reyes sat back in her chair, her expression thoughtful. She looked between Musk and Patel, weighing their arguments. Both sides have presented compelling points, she said finally. The court will hear from Mr. Musk's last witness tomorrow morning, and then I will take this case under advisement. As everyone stood for the judge's exit, Sarah Patel turned to look at Musk. For the first time, there was worry in her eyes. She hadn't expected this billionaire to defend himself so effectively, and from the whispers in the courtroom, neither had anyone else. That evening, Musk sat in his hotel room reviewing his notes. His phone buzzed constantly with messages from friends and Tesla executives who had heard about his performance in court. He ignored them all. Tomorrow was too important for distractions. A knock came at his door. It was Victor Chen. The press is going crazy, Victor said, entering the room. Every legal blog is talking about how you cited the judge's own cases. Some are calling it the most impressive self-representation they've ever seen from a non-lawyer. Musk barely looked up from his notes. That's nice, but it doesn't matter unless we win. Victor sat down across from him. What's your plan for tomorrow? We had scheduled Dr. Wilson, our financial expert. Change of plans, Musk said. I want to call Carlos Mendez instead. Victor looked confused. The factory worker? But he's not on our witness list. I added him this afternoon. The court clerk has already approved it. Victor frowned. Elon, with all due respect, why would we call a factory worker when we could have an expert explain the financial aspects of the case? Musk finally looked up. Because this case isn't really about numbers, Victor. It's about whether my compensation is fair. And fairness isn't just about math. The next morning, the courtroom was even more crowded. Word had spread about Musk's surprising legal knowledge, and everyone wanted to see what would happen next. The defense calls Carlos Mendez, Victor announced. A middle-aged man with work-worn hands made his way to the witness stand. He looked nervous as he was sworn in. His blue Tesla work shirt was crisp and freshly ironed. Good morning, Mr. Mendez, Musk said, approaching the stand. Could you tell the court what you do at Tesla? I'm a team leader at the Fremont factory, Carlos answered. I supervise 50 people on the Model Y assembly line. How long have you worked at Tesla? Almost 7 years now. And what were you doing before that? Carlos straightened in his chair. I was unemployed for 14 months. Before that, I worked at the NUMMI plant, the same building, when it was run by Toyota and GM. When they closed it in 2010, I lost my job. What happened after Tesla bought the factory? Musk asked. At first, I couldn't get hired. Tesla was small then, only making the original Roadster. But in 2016, I got a job on the Model S line. I started at the bottom, but worked my way up. Musk nodded. Mr. Mendez, as part of your Tesla employment, did you receive stock options? Yes, Carlos said. All Tesla employees get stock options. When I started, they weren't worth much. Tesla's stock was around $50 then. And what happened to those options? Carlos smiled slightly. As Tesla grew, they became worth more. A lot more. I exercised my first options in 2020. That money paid for my daughter's first year of college at UC Davis. She's studying engineering now. Judge Reyes was watching Carlos with interest. Mr. Mendez, did Tesla's employees know about my compensation package when it was approved in 2018? Musk asked. Oh, yes, Carlos nodded. Everyone was talking about it. The goals seemed crazy. We'd need to make 10 times more cars, build new factories, everything. And how did employees feel about it? Carlos leaned forward. Honestly, most of us liked it. We knew if those goals were met, our stock options would be worth a lot too. Mr. Musk's pay was tied to the same thing that would help all of us, Tesla growing bigger. Sarah Patel stood. Objection, Your Honor. One employee's opinion isn't relevant to the legal issues in this case. Judge Reyes considered this. I'll allow it for now. The impact of the compensation structure on employee motivation could be relevant. Continue, Mr. Musk. Thank you, Your Honor, Musk said. Mr. Mendez, what happened at the factory when Tesla was struggling to meet production targets for the Model 3 in 2018? Carlos's expression grew serious. It was intense. We were working around the clock. Sometimes we'd see Mr. Musk sleeping on the factory floor or working on the line himself. He wasn't just giving orders. He was right there with us, fixing problems. Did knowing about my compensation package affect how you felt during those difficult times? Definitely, Carlos said firmly. We all knew you'd only get paid if Tesla succeeded. You were all in, just like us. It made everyone work harder. Musk nodded. One last question, Mr. Mendez. How has Tesla's growth affected your life personally? Carlos sat straighter. It changed everything for my family. My stock options let us buy our first house. My wife could quit her second job. My daughter's in Fuensalento College. And it's not just me. Dozens of people on my team have similar stories. He looked directly at Judge Reyes. Before Tesla, I worried about paying rent. Now I'm helping other workers learn skills and move up. That factory employed 10,000 people before it closed. Now it employs more, making clean cars. Whatever Mr. Musk got paid, he earned it. And he helped all of us earn more, too. Thank you, Mr. Mendez, Musk said. No further questions. Sarah Patel approached for cross-examination. Mr. Mendez, has Mr. Musk ever spoken to you personally? A few times, Carlos answered. He visited our section during production ramp-up. Did he tell you to say these things today? Carlos looked offended. No, ma'am. These are my own words. Are you aware that Mr. Musk's $56 billion could have been used to give every Tesla employee a bonus of over $500,000 instead? Carlos didn't hesitate. With respect, ma'am, that assumes the money was just sitting there. My understanding is that Mr. Musk only got paid because Tesla grew so much. Without him pushing us all to reach those goals, there wouldn't have been that money to give anyone. Patel looked frustrated. No further questions. As Carlos stepped down, Judge Reyes watched him thoughtfully. The worker's sincerity was obvious. He wasn't a polished expert or a professional witness. He was just telling his truth. Musk returned to his seat. Victor whispered, That was brilliant. He was more powerful than 10 financial experts. Because he's real, Musk replied quietly. This case isn't about abstract legal theories. It's about real people and a real company trying to change the world. Judge Reyes tapped her gavel. We'll hear closing arguments after lunch. As the court broke for lunch, the tide had clearly turned. The workers' testimony had brought the abstract numbers down to earth, showing how Tesla's success had changed real lives, not just Musk's. When court resumed, the room was completely silent. Everyone could feel the importance of the moment. Judge Reyes looked at both legal teams. We'll hear closing arguments now. Ms. Patel, you may begin. Sarah Patel approached the podium. Her voice was strong and clear. Your Honor, this case is simple at its core. Tesla's board approved a compensation package so enormous that it shocks the conscience. No single human being, no matter how talented, deserves $56 billion from a public company. She gestured toward Musk. Mr. Musk has told a compelling story. He's worked hard. He's achieved remarkable things. But that doesn't justify the largest pay package in history. Patel turned to face the judge directly. Delaware law requires boards to act reasonably. No reasonable board would give away this much of shareholders' money. It doesn't matter how well Tesla has performed. The amount itself proves the board failed in its duties. She finished with confidence. We ask the court to invalidate this excessive package and protect shareholders from boards that forget their fundamental duty, to safeguard company resources, not give them away. Thank you. Judge Reyes nodded. Thank you, Ms. Patel. Mr. Musk, your closing argument? Musk approached the podium slowly. He looked tired but determined. For a moment, he simply stood there, looking out at the packed courtroom. Your Honor, he began quietly, this case asks a fundamental question. What is a fair reward for creating hundreds of billions of dollars in value? He paused, letting the question hang in the air. Tesla's board and shareholders answered that question in 2018. They decided that if and only if Tesla achieved nearly impossible goals, I would receive a package worth about 5% of the new value created. Musk looked at the shareholders seated behind Sarah Patel. Tutti, the plaintiffs don't claim the board was corrupt. They don't claim shareholders were misled. They simply argue that the number is too big. He turned back to Judge Reyes. But Delaware law doesn't set a maximum dollar amount for compensation. It requires proper process and informed shareholders. Tesla had both. Musk gestured toward where Carlos Mendez had sat earlier. We've heard how Tesla's success changed lives. Not just mine, but thousands of employees and hundreds of thousands of shareholders. We've built factories that provide good jobs. We've made electric cars mainstream, helping fight climate change. His voice grew stronger. In America, we believe in rewarding success. We don't tell entrepreneurs, you can try to change the world, but if you succeed too much, we'll take back what was promised. Musk pointed to the chart showing Tesla's growth. Tesla has created more American manufacturing jobs than any car company in decades. We've built factories in economic zones that needed investment. We've made America a leader in electric vehicles when many said it couldn't be done. He turned back to Judge Reyes. Your Honor, in your Reyes versus Continental opinion, you wrote that courts should respect compensation agreements that align executive interests with shareholder value. That's exactly what my package did. It made me focus entirely on Tesla's growth that benefited everyone connected to the company. Musk's voice became softer. This case isn't really about me. It's about whether Delaware courts will second-guess business decisions just because the numbers got large. It's about whether success can be too great, rewards too high. He looked directly at Judge Reyes. I believe in American business. I believe in honoring agreements. And I believe that when someone achieves what they promised to achieve, they deserve what they were promised in return. Musk took a deep breath. Your Honor, we ask that you uphold the compensation package that was properly approved and that achieved exactly what it was designed to do: create extraordinary value for Tesla, its shareholders, its workers, and its mission. Thank you. As Musk returned to his seat, the courtroom remained silent. No whispers, no shuffling papers. Everyone was watching Judge Reyes. She looked at her notes for a long moment, then addressed the courtroom. This case raises important questions about corporate governance, executive compensation, and the role of courts in reviewing business decisions. I will take it under advisement and issue a written opinion. She looked at Musk, then at the shareholders. Both sides have presented thoughtful arguments. I thank you for your professionalism. With a tap of her gavel, court was adjourned. Reporters rushed out to file their stories. The shareholders huddled with their lawyers, looking concerned. Musk simply gathered his notes and walked out quietly. Outside the courthouse, Victor caught up with him. What do you think? Will we win? Musk looked up at the sky for a moment. I don't know, but for the first time since this case started, I think the judge really heard our side. Whatever happens, we told the truth. As they walked toward the waiting car, neither noticed Judge Reyes watching from her office window, an unreadable expression on her face. 3 weeks passed. The business world waited anxiously for Judge Reyes's decision. Legal experts debated the case on TV. Some predicted Musk would lose because the amount was simply too large. Others thought his arguments about following proper process would win. Musk returned to his busy life. He visited SpaceX in Texas, checked on the new Tesla factory in Berlin, and worked on Neuralink's latest brain chip. But those who knew him well could tell he was distracted, checking his phone often for news from Delaware. Finally, on a rainy Tuesday morning, word came. Judge Reyes had made her decision. The ruling would be announced that afternoon at 2 p.m. The courtroom was even more packed than during the trial. News cameras waited outside. The case had become a symbol of bigger questions. How much is too much? Should success have limits? What's fair when billions are at stake? At exactly 2 p.m., Judge Maria Reyes entered. Everyone stood, then sat in perfect silence. In the case of Tesla shareholders versus Elon Musk, I have reached a decision, she began. Her voice was calm and clear. This case asked the court to determine whether Tesla's board breached its duties by approving Mr. Musk's compensation package. After careful consideration of all evidence and arguments, I find in favor of the defendant, Mr. Musk. A wave of whispers swept through the room. Musk's face remained calm, but his shoulders relaxed slightly. Delaware law gives boards wide latitude in business decisions, including compensation, Judge Reyes continued. The business judgment rule protects boards from judicial second-guessing unless there was fraud, conflict of interest, or gross negligence. None of those were proven here. She looked at the shareholders. While the amount is indeed unprecedented, the court cannot invalidate a properly approved compensation package simply because of its size. The package was tied to extraordinarily ambitious goals that were achieved, creating hundreds of billions in shareholder value. Judge Reyes turned to look directly at Musk. The court notes that Mr. Musk took significant personal risk. Had Tesla failed to meet its targets, he would have received nothing for years of work. This alignment of risk and reward is precisely what well-designed compensation should accomplish. She closed her folder. The plaintiff's request to invalidate the compensation package is denied. Court is adjourned. With a final tap of her gavel, it was over. Musk had won. Reporters rushed out to break the news. Tesla's stock jumped 8% within minutes. Inside the courtroom, Musk shook hands with his legal team, then approached Sarah Patel and her clients to offer a respectful handshake, which they accepted with grudging professionalism. As the room cleared, a clerk approached Musk. "Judge Reyes would like to see you in her chambers, Mr. Musk." Victor looked concerned. "That's unusual. Do you want me to come with you?" Musk shook his head. "I'll be fine." Judge Reyes's office was smaller than he expected. Bookshelves lined the walls, filled with legal volumes. A simple desk sat in the center. Judge Reyes was standing by a window, still in her black robe. "Mr. Musk," she said, gesturing to a chair. "Please sit." As he sat down, she studied him carefully. "I have a confession to make. When this case began, I had a rather poor opinion of you." Musk nodded. "I noticed." Her lips curved in a small smile. "Yes, I wasn't subtle. I'd read about your Twitter fights and controversial statements. I thought you were just another entitled billionaire." She sat down across from him. "I was wrong. Your presentation in court showed a depth of understanding and respect for the law that surprised me." "Thank you, Your Honor," Musk said simply. Judge Reyes leaned forward. "But something still puzzles me. You knew exactly what you were doing in that courtroom. Your legal arguments were precise. You even cited my own precedents. How did you learn all that so quickly?" Musk was quiet for a moment. Then he reached into his jacket and pulled out the notebook he'd been checking throughout the trial. He handed it to her. Judge Reyes opened it, her eyes widening as she flipped through the pages. They were filled with detailed legal notes, case, citations, and analysis, hundreds of pages of careful study. "What is this?" she asked. "For the past 3 months, I've been taking online law classes," Musk explained. 5 hours every night, after my regular work. I studied every major Delaware corporate case. I read all of your published opinions. I even had law professors quiz me on Zoom." Judge Reyes looked stunned. "You secretly attended law school while running multiple companies?" Musk shrugged slightly. "Not an actual degree, just the specific knowledge I needed for this case. I knew it was too important to leave entirely to others, even to excellent lawyers like Victor." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" she asked. "Because I wanted to be underestimated," Musk said simply. "I knew if people thought I was just an arrogant CEO with no legal knowledge, they'd be less prepared for my arguments." Judge Reyes shook her head in amazement. "In 20 years on this bench, I've never seen anything like it. Most CEOs would have just hired more expensive lawyers." "I don't do things like most people," Musk replied. "Clearly not." Judge Reyes closed the notebook and handed it back. "Mr. Musk, regardless of what I think about your compensation or your company's, I must acknowledge your determination. When you believe in something, you commit completely." "I always have," Musk said, standing to leave. "It's the only way I know." As he reached the door, Judge Reyes said, "One more thing, Mr. Musk." He turned back. "If you ever decide to switch careers," she said with a small smile, "you'd make a surprisingly good lawyer." Musk smiled for the first time. "Thank you, Your Honor. But I still have a few rockets to build and cars to make." As he left the courthouse, the rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds. Reporters called his name, but Musk walked past them to his waiting car, his mind already moving on to the next challenge, the next impossible goal. The CEO who had surprised a veteran judge with hidden legal brilliance was now thinking about Mars again. The courtroom battle was just another problem solved, another obstacle overcome on the much longer journey he'd set for himself decades ago. A journey that was far from over. That was the end of Judge laughs at Elon Musk in court, then gets blown away by his legal brilliance. I hope you enjoyed this emotional journey of unexpected courtroom drama and the surprising reveal of Musk's secret legal studies. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know what part of the world this content reached. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos like this one. Your support helps us create more engaging content just like this. Also, please consider sharing this video with your friends and family. Spreading these videos not only entertains but also shares important messages about determination, preparation, and the value of working hard for what you believe in. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.